Brendan, I'd really be grateful if you could explain, for the purposes of this video, a little bit of the problem that you've been having and what you've noticed about it. Then what we're going to do is that I'm going to get you to play two pieces, one that you're happy with and the other one that creates a problem for you, that might create some tension. And we'll then have a look at the video together and see what we see.
Okay. So the problem I get in my arms has been sort of mainly brought about when I've been playing, so sort of aches through both arms, sort of all the way around in the forearms, occasionally sort of above sort of the elbow, but not too much. And it's sort of been, well, we weren't quite sure really at first if it was sort of muscular, to do with tendons or nerves, and now we think through these sessions that it's more the nerves, and because it's sort of both being connected up at the top of the spine, which makes sense because I get problems in both arms at the same times, never just sort of one or the other. It's always comes at the same time, so it would make sense that it's sort of that they're both connected somewhere. It's supposed to be going on for about 14 weeks now. Sort of just been having these sessions for the past 2 or 3 weeks, so about 3 or 4 of them. But sort of has helped very sort of stretching and just being more relaxed when playing, which I've been doing sort of 15-minute chunks throughout the day, so about 4 of those during the day, mainly focusing on being relaxed as opposed to actually worrying about the notes and sort of the sound I'm creating.
And that's made a difference, so you've been able to play more than you had been?
Yes, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Joining with rehearsals and things as well.
One thing I'm going to ask you actually, would you mind, for the purposes of this particular piece, just taking the wedge out?
Yeah.
So we gave Brendan a wedge because he's really tall and most chairs are way too low for him. But for the purposes of this video, what we're trying to look at is what he was doing in playing before he's had some Alexander work. So that's why I've asked him to take it away. And you can probably already see on the video, I don't know if that's on there, but there's quite a lot of different angles that happen without the wedge. So the wedge, although it was probably a bit small, is already helping change some of the angles that Brendan has had to deal with because he's so tall. Over to you.
So playing easy?
So it's not really easy. So just for the purpose of video, I'm probably going to wander around and have a look at Brendan from different angles and see what I notice, and then we'll look at the video together. So. Okay, what's your preference? Would you prefer to talk about that now or play the other thing first and then talk about both? I think let's, actually, sorry, I'm thinking aloud. Could you play the other thing first? Yeah.
Try to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole point about this is that you're playing something that you know you find difficult.
Okay.
So this is not about you playing beautifully, it's about you creating the stimuli that you get that puts you wrong.
Okay. It'll only be a bit of it.
is we're going to see what the difference is when you start to become conscious, firstly, of what you're doing, and you see if you can create a minuscule pause between the stimulus and the response. And also, I'd like to know before you start, so I've given you the wedge back.
Mm-hmm.
For you, what is the difference in your feeling sense about what the wedge does for you?
Feels a lot more supportive in the spine.
Okay.
More, it's removed than like before when I sat down. I definitely feel it shrunk, so therefore, you know, my legs didn't feel as comfortable, so it was sort of a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I put my hand on you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, absolutely, what the wedge does is it is angling your spine a little bit because your legs are so long. There was much too great an angle here at the hip,
Mm-hmm.
so you were compressing all your blood vessels and things there. So this actually opens that out, which allows your back to have more support. Okay, could you feel what happened just there?
Yeah.
What happened for you?
It felt like my all coming back on my head was coming up as well.
Yeah. So, but how hard was I pressing?
Not that.
Okay.
Not that hard.
Okay. Okay, so for you that is much more comfortable having that wedge.
Yeah.
From my point of view, I would say that you could even do with a slightly deeper wedge,
Right.
ideally, but I can see already that you're sitting in a more comfortable position.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second thing about playing an instrument, we talk about Alexander technique being getting to meet a stimulus that puts you wrong and you learning to deal with it. So the first stimulus that you have to deal with is your instrument. Picking up your instrument is actually a massive stimulus
Mm-hmm.
because you have so many habits associated with that instrument. So what I noticed in that previous piece is that you just picked it up and went. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you if I can have it, please. And your bow. Okay. So if I'm just going to give you your violin and your bow, and I'd like you to get yourself into position without thinking about it too much. So, you know, pretty much how you always would.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay. So you're ready. Okay. Can I have it back? Thank you. Okay. So, did you notice anything about what you did when you picked up your violin?
My shoulder came to reach it.
Yeah. And what about your head and neck?
They probably did as well.
Yeah.
It's close
Exactly.
around it.
So before you have even played a note, you've created a situation which is potentially going to give you problems. Okay? So what's your thought? Given that we know that the way we process changing habits is by using conscious thought, what conscious thought could you have about bringing the violin up to ready position?
Placing it on, the thing about placing it onto the shoulder as opposed to everything sort of clasping around it. And then sort of bringing the head towards it. Maybe you're just placing it more under the chin.
Do you remember what we talked about in terms of where your head balanced on your neck?
Yes.
Can you kind of demonstrate for the camera, or do you not remember it precisely?
No.
Okay, that's good, because I noticed that you couldn't remember precisely because of what you did with your head. So what we talked about was that, I'd love to get that app out. So it's almost at the level of your nose.
Mm-hmm.
It comes behind here, and if I was to put a pin down here, then it's right in the middle. So if I keep that stimulus there and you gently nod your head, can you begin to feel where the top of your neck is?
Yeah.
Put your fingers here, like this. Stick you both of them, as though you were going to put them as a rod through your head. So they're going on that, through your head, on that horizontal,
Mm-hmm.
and down here. Now nod your head gently. Can you begin to feel more whereabouts it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you you can let your fingers down, so you know your head weighs about 5 kilograms. So in order to hold on to your violin, you just need a little bit of weight from your head, but when you give that weight, you're letting it release through the neck drop the head forward. So it's not that.
Okay.
It's just a little roll off the top of your spine. That's it.
Okay.
So you're thinking, so the other thing that's really difficult because you've got such a long back. So A, you need core muscles, B, you need your latissimus dorsi. But you also want to think about coming up under the sternum. Yes. So you want to think of being really open and upright. So the other thing is you want to, feet firmly on the floor so you're balanced. The other thing that's very useful is to check your breathing. So let your breath come into the back of your ribs. And the other thing that's very useful is your eyes. So Walter Carrington always used to say, where your eyes go, your body follows. It's very easy to fix.
Yeah.
So you want to keep peripheral vision. So that means, although you might be looking there, you know I'm here.
Yeah.
Because when you keep your peripheral vision alive, it kind of keeps all the musculature alive in the body. So we haven't even played a note yet, and there's been an awful lot to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, so already I'm coming towards you, and you desperately want this violin. So one of the things I'm just going to ask you at the moment, this doesn't mean you have to do this always, but just for the moment, I'm going to ask you not to reach out for it.
Okay.
I'm going to literally come and place it. You can turn your hands in a way that you'll be able to receive it.
Okay.
So do that. Okay, and the other hand. Okay, now just pause because you've tightened, you've collapsed. Open up and breathe. Peripheral vision. And I'm going to bring you your violin. And I'm going to bring you a bow. Okay, so again, just up, pause. Just let yourself breathe. And now you really know, and I'm going to come put hands on you now to help you just stay in. So you really know that you are going to stay balanced. And you're going to absolutely bring your violin to you, not take you to the violin. Off you go. Okay, and before you move your head at all, you're just going to check that that's great. So can you feel the difference between your shoulder now and your shoulder before? Fantastic. Okay, and now you're really going to get that sense of where's the top of your neck. You're rotating and then dropping your chin. And you're taking another breath, so that you know, because you do not need to breathe to play the violin, it's very easy to hold the breath. So really spare yourself some thought. Now again, as you bring your bowing arm up, you want to keep that sense of width across your chest, up under here. Yep. And then let yourself. Okay, and the other thing that gets really caught if you're not careful is the jaw.
Yeah.
So the way I often work with it is to just think of sort of a millimetre between my back teeth. So I'm not opening my lips necessarily, I'm just trying to keep space here in the back teeth. Okay, off you go. Your legs are not going to run away. So, keep breathing. Keeping aware of your jaw. So your jaw wants to play the violin at the moment. When you do vibrato, how much is coming into your back? Okay.
Not really.
Alright. Okay, so believe that you can do this easily and breathe. Yes, that's great. Keep breathing. Keep leaving your feet on the floor.
was quite hard, sort of especially on the left shoulder, to not have it rising and not have the head clamping down.
Okay.
It felt like I actually was kind of missing the chin rest as such, because I was so used to clamping onto it. I didn't feel that secure. Sort of, I was quite, especially when shifting,
Yeah.
of clamping, especially the higher up, because I felt like I could lose the violin. I was a lot more aware of my legs sort of get really tense when playing. The sort of vibrato, I never really realised I was kind of engaging my back that much, but I suppose because it's an arm vibrato, so the whole arm is moving, so I suppose that's kind of got to come from somewhere as such. So yeah, that would make sense that it's coming from the back.
Did you find it, okay, I know you felt more insecure because you weren't used to it. Did you hear any difference in the sound, or did you feel that there was any difference for you in how you played that?
Yeah, well, it was quite helpful when you said to sort of just imagine you can do it and not sort of worry about it, and then you do kind of sit back a bit and think, oh, you can still create sort of quite a powerful sound,
yeah,
but without sort of straining everything.
Okay. All right. In terms of the vibrato, that's something that I'd like to work with you more. And what I think is, what happens, we get very caught into using everything. When actually you've got this amazing joint in the shoulder that we can do all sorts of things with without interfering necessarily with the shoulders and the neck.
Yeah.
So it's something I think we could work with that would make a difference. But I think the basic stuff of letting go in the hips and that sense of that you overwork when you start to get anxious.
Right.
That will make a big difference.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but the sound for me was different on the second time. It was freer.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to listen back to that on the video.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.